The final thing we need to look at with forecasting of inputs is some advantages and disadvantages. With the advantages, we're going to do what we did with the technology strategies and break them into the improvements to efficiency or productivity and the improvements to effectiveness or quality. So let's look at efficiency. We're going to be a more efficient business with forecasting because it's going to prevent us ordering too few inputs. Why does that make us more efficient? Because we know exactly what we need. We'll have the correct amount rather than not having enough. Now, if we don't have enough, production's going to shut down. When we shut down, we waste time, space, money. So if we're not going to waste time, space, and money, we're going to be more efficient because we've got a good forecast. What else? It also prevents us ordering too many inputs. So we looked at why that's bad, but how does that help us run a more efficient business? It prevents us from ordering too many, and too many things take up excessive space, waste time and resources, or go off or become difficult to sell before they can be turned into a final product. And lastly, we're going to be more efficient because we're going to make better use of our space. We're going to look at a strategy called just in time, and this is very similar. We can use our space better because we only have the exact amount of stock that we need. We don't have too much. We're not using extra space. How are we going to be more effective? We're going to produce a better product. Why? Because we're always going to have the products or the inputs that we need in the right amount, at the right quantity, at the right time. So therefore, we can produce a more effective product. And lastly, we're going to have fewer wastes and defects in production because we're going to have the right amount of inputs. We're going to make the product correctly. And even if we do have a fault in production, we're going to have the inputs on hand to fix it. So we can ultimately make a better product for the customer. What about some disadvantages? Why doesn't every business do this if it's all so good? Well, we could say it takes a lot of time and resources to do a really good forecast, especially for something as complicated as making a car. You're going to need a lot of accountants, analytics people, marketing people, IT people, and a lot of businesses don't actually have all those resources. Probably the biggest disadvantages or limitations would be past data. Forecast base is based on analyzing past data. Well, there's no certainty the future will be the same as the past. So crunching any numbers might actually be irrelevant to the future. And lastly, the limitations of prediction. So if a forecast is based on past data, it's also based on your prediction of the future. And no matter how accurate that is, it's never going to be 100% correct. It might ultimately actually be quite wrong. And therefore you've made a forecast which doesn't represent the future and actually makes you worse off than you would be if you hadn't have tried to predict the future at all.